Hey everyone, so I'm going to dovetail this tutorial onto an unboxing I did on NAD. NAD is nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, and just think of it as a substrate or an ingredient for every cell to be doing cancer surveillance and inflammation repair and DNA telomere lengthening. But if this is the first time you're finding me, don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below and the alert button to find out when I do new videos. So this is the NAD bottle that I used for my unboxing. Life Extensions is just one company, pretty decent. There's a bigger company called Niagen, that's True Niagen, that's really pushing the envelope with NR. I might as well just show you my fancy board. So this is my fancy board that tells you about very busy information. So this is something called the salvage pathway. I'll try to get it so you don't have too much reflection. The salvage pathway is how NAD is kept at high levels in every cell. And somebody that was watching my video on unboxing had asked about different food sources to get NAD in. It was a good question, but I think that overall, if you look at the 30,000 foot view as far as having NAD in the cell, you can get it from lean meats and dairy products and veggies, but it's so variable now that it's very difficult to maintain the high level. Thus the reason why, if you want to just have good levels of NAD, it's probably more efficient and more regulated to have this in your system. This is NR. So wait, before I get into that. So this is a very big, important substrate to be utilized by your cells' checks and balances. The enzymes that make you live until you're 103. Or the ones that you beat up and don't feed that make you live till 70. 60. And the reason I'm doing this is I really think that my patients with chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, and COVID recovery, or patients that are in COVID recovery now, thank God, they have beat up and used all this stuff. You think of the fight that these people have fought coming off a ventilator or just having Rigers. Rigers are shaking chills middle of the night, or just having DNA try to take over what it used to do because the coronavirus takes over a lot of the lung tissue and heart tissue and gut tissue. Well, just to put it back into perspective and reproduce the way DNA and fix DNA the way it's supposed to do, you have to get all that crappy virus out of you. You have to attack the virus. You have to launch your immune system. You have to use the energy to hunt down and find all these viral particles. And then you have to repair. I think this is worn out and beat up. Now, no question, the salvage pathway should be, if it's intact, should be able to get your system charged up again, almost like an automatic iPhone charger. But the problem is your energy is drained so low that the ingredients are lacking. So what happens if you have no ingredients or very limited? Eventually it'll get back up if you eat properly. Do most Americans eat properly? Do most Americans have deficiency? Yes. Do most Americans take omeprazole or pantoprazole, H2 blockers, Pepcid, irritated stomachs, reflux? Yes. So I really think that the easier way to guarantee that you get levels up again is to actually take these precursors. NAD, you can't really take NAD by itself. And for the person who asked me about food groups, you can take food groups, salmon, spinach, and nuts, to give you tryptophan. That's a building block along this cascade of cycle. You can also take vitamin B3. Niacin has a building block too. Lean meat, legumes, veggies. But the problem is, again, the amount that you take has to be regulated and has to be good, organic, and it has to be the same amount with a really well-functioning digestive system. It's too variable. And it might take forever, especially if you're coming off of an infection. So I just say take this stuff. So although this says NAD on the label, it actually is something called NR. And there's the ingredients label. NR is down here. NR, if you look at the salvage pathway, the way it happens and continues on, initially when you're growing up, your food sources will put these ingredients into every cell. But because every cell is so dependent on beating cancer, surveilling against damage to RNA, DNA, these cells, the body has developed this source of resalvaging, or a salvage pathway, where it just resalvages ingredients and puts them into a high level all times. So if you have it at all times, you'll never run out. You don't have to worry about food sources. However, one way that you can get levels up is to increase NMN, that's the precursor for NAD, NMN, and also NR is a precursor for NAD. So this is where all the studies are coming from, and I'll show you what I came up with. Really nice studies that mostly, unfortunately, are in rats or mouse studies, but that's why we study animals. Small studies can give you some potential observational studies to maybe put more money into human studies. That's the way it usually works. So here's the first one, and it just talked about NR, and so I guess you should know about what these NAD stands for, NMN stands for, and NR. They're all nicotinamides. Without getting into the weeds too much, because it's if you haven't heard of these products, just remember NAD. Just remember NR, because that's all I'm going to talk about here. But if you want the science and look up the studies, they're okay. But again, my theory is that this will help, because at this point in time, especially for my COVID patients, ain't nothing wrong with taking NAD or ribosome NR, but there's no other treatment plan and there's no other recovery plan. So why not? As long as there's no damage. And that's why I'm doing all these COVID recovery videos. So NAD, nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. NMN, the precursor, nicotinamide mononucleotide. NR, nicotinamide riboside. So that's what they stand for. Now here, again, are the studies I found. So this is just information. I don't know if that's too bleached out or not. Hopefully you can see that. I'll hold it steady. This is the information on decreasing brain inflammation in rats and increasing cognition or problem solving. This was a nice one. I'm gonna, as we go through these, the last studies are the best ones. So, can you see that? Yes, you can. This one was on NR and NMN. NMN is, again, those two precursors for NAD. And by increasing NAD, you increased the way the astrocytes worked in Alzheimer's disease animals. So, I'm sorry, not Alzheimer's, ALS, acute amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. So they take these mice, then they induce the Lou Gehrig's disease, and they give them, or they take away NAD, and it improves the way the ALS animals functioned. Again, all brain tissue. Then this is just some of the details on treating. This is where they took dead brain tissue, or they took dead animals, took the brain tissue out, put them in a petri dish, and then added NAD or NR. So the theory of using NR showed that it might help in Alzheimer's animals. The only problem is this is in vitro, not in vivo. In vitro means that you put in a petri dish. In vivo will mean that you actually have it in a human. So let's see. This is for Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease. I don't know if you're seeing that. I'm sorry if it's too bleached out. Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, cardiovascular disease, obesity. And by decreasing NAD, you would increase disease. By increasing NAD, you would decrease disease. That's really easy. This is also information or a study about Alzheimer's disease. I hope you guys are getting this. I am not sure. This is a new setup I have since I'm in the basement. I can see I'm really, my white balance on my phone is really screwed up, but So this is where you have NR-treated animals and brain tissue, and it showed improvement in mice as far as cognition and inflammation in brain tissue. This is a good one because I have one patient out of all my, I'm going to have more, hopefully more, with all my warriors. But I have one patient that's recovering from COVID and she can't smell. Anosmia is not being able to smell, and dysgeusia is you can't taste. That is definitely, in the studies out of China and Italy, one of the side effects of having the coronavirus. And I think it's a neuropathy, but this isn't about NR or NMN, but this is just that the corona caused the side effect. And again, so I'm cherry picking all these to put them together, but if coronavirus not only attacks the lung tissue, maybe heart tissue, maybe gut tissue, maybe liver, but if it leaves people with numbness and tingling and in anosmia, then it must attack brain tissue. So judging from all these other studies, if brain tissue can be improved upon with degenerative neurological disease, then anosmia should improve, numbness and tingling should improve. Again, that's my, I submit that to you, but there should not have to be a debate on whether you try NAD or not, or NAD boosting with NR supplements, because there's no downside except for price. The question will be, are you investing in something that's not going to help? Well, it's not going to hurt. And unless somebody comes up with something else scientifically that really improves and speeds up coronavirus or chronic fatigue syndrome, debate me. So the question about, from that astute guy who was watching my video on the unboxing, where can I get my food sources, or what food sources can I get it in? I mentioned those building blocks, tryptophan and B3. I will tell you one thing with niacin. Tryptophan, you can probably get some in. Niacin, you have to be careful because niacin causes a flushing reaction, and sometimes it can back up the liver. So believe it or not, if you have good sources of NAD, or if you have a decent enough NAD, by pushing NMN and NR, it should actually take care of liver disease too. Again, the problem is getting those precursors of NAD into your system. So the argument would be, if you can get it in food sources, fantastic. I would be cautious, because if you're just pushing the heck out of your food source, especially for my guys that are coming off of the COVID recovery, I don't want you just dumping a lot of food in you. I would be selective, because most likely the gut has also been damaged. So be careful. Don't eat too much. Again, obesity, everybody's got, 2/3 of Americans have it anyway. So if we're trying to chase NAD production by putting more food in, especially post-infection, even if you lost weight, you might be tempted to do the wrong thing and eat too much. We don't need that, especially because 2/3 of Americans are overweight to begin with. So I would rather guarantee, if I'm doing formulation, I have I have no disclosures with any kickbacks from these companies. I just like science. So if I get markers of blood, functional medicine wise, I like to fix the markers with a specific amount of supplement every single day, twice a day, once a day, doesn't matter. If you do food, it's too variable to me. Eventually, when you control your disease process and or your symptoms, then you switch from vitamins over to food. But in my patient population, we haven't got to that point yet. I've been in Bartlett for 5 years. I've been in practicing as a physician and MD for 25 years. So I just started on this journey about 7 years ago and really fine-tuned it now. So this is an awesome study, but I copied this big project that came up. So this is published May of 2019. Hopefully you can see that. And these are the authors. This is a great study because it talked about the pathophysiology. And even if you're not a molecular biologist, it's really, if you understand this, here's the authors. Hopefully you can get that. I'll try to put a link down below if I can find the, I don't know where I got this from. I'll try to put a link down below. So it does go through pathophysiology. Pretty cool diagram. Not as good as my busy board. And, so sirtuins and PARPs, really important in the longevity. Those of you who like or try to use fasting mimicking diet or intermittent fasting to boost your longevity, you should read about sirtuins and PARPs because that's what really keeps telomeres long. That's what keeps DNA epigenetics are watched and fine-tuned, and it will keep you out of harm's way as far as cancer. And again, this is just a testament to say that you can control a lot of disease if you take in the right amount. And as far as NMN versus NR, NMN is phosphorylated. NR is not phosphorylated. Both of them are boosters or precursors to NAD, but the problem is in the stomach, to get to NAD, if you take NMN, which I think there's like one study, Sinclair talked about it. He's a big guy with sirtuins, talked about this in one study, but phosphorylated anything has to be, you have to chop off the phosphorus group in the gut and then it gets absorbed. And a lot of us don't have guts that are working properly. So instead of worrying about this, if you don't chop off the phosphorus group, you just poop the whole thing out. So why not just go straight for the NR? Because there's no phosphorus group here, it gets absorbed. There's more studies on NR than NMN. Both of them are precursors for NAD, but again, if you are limited on your food sources, and honestly, that's the other thing. If you can take milk and lean meats and veggies and legumes, that's expensive. This bottle, where you do one pill in the morning, maybe one pill in the afternoon, 200 to 250 milligrams, I mean, that was like 25 bucks for a month. How much are you gonna have to spend to buy organic? So something you should consider. But anyway, NR is not phosphorylated, so it should be absorbed nicely. NMN is phosphorylated. Until they come up with a nicer form of NMN, I just stick with this. And there's only 2 companies that I know of that do NR, so this is one, Life Extensions. So through this whirlwind of things, that is why I would suggest NAD boosting for my folks that are suffering from chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, even some cognitive dysfunction or Alzheimer's disease, and then the recovery from COVID. So give it a try. I have all these other videos, so look at them as well. But make your decisions. As far as doing all the suggestions, you don't have to, but at least do something, because I'm sure with you recovering, your doc's probably not suggesting too many things. So don't forget to subscribe. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it and share it with people who you know are recovering as well. And if you have any comments on what you used to recover or your symptoms, if you don't mind sharing with everybody, please, let's see what your symptoms are and let's follow this as time goes on into the summer of 2020, into the fall, because I know this coronavirus is going to come around again and other people will be suffering. So if we can get, even if it's soft science, if we can get anecdote, other people will be helped by your comments and suggestions. So thanks for watching. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next tutorial.